Most people in the industry demonize being lazy, but what if being lazy is a good thing? Because if you can get the same amount of stuff done in the least amount of time, then why wouldn't you want that? And since then, I've operated my business on what is the maximum ROI I can get with the minimum amount of work.
In terms of the TikTok account growth, then what have you seen in terms of if someone comes in, right, and they've got 0 TikTok followers and they start posting daily, what could someone achieve in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days on TikTok?
It's so hard to say because the range is so big. Like if you
give us a range then, like bottom, but what it could, aspirational, what it could be.
Let's say that someone was actually executing the concepts well, like their hooks were good, solid hooks.
They will be good. They will be good.
In 30 days, I would say around 5 to 10K.
All right. So Hannah Chan, when people ask you, what do you do? What do you say? What's your response?
It depends who's asking. If I'm at an influencer PR event, then I'll focus it more on I am a content creator in the women's business niche. But if it's someone who's completely outside of our industry, let's say an Uber driver or someone you randomly meet on the streets, I'll be like, yeah, you know, Tony Robbins or like Gary Vee, I do stuff like that, like online business. And normally they'll just ask the next question and then it'll go from there. But if it's someone who's kind of in the fitness space, then I might be like, you know those fitness influencers on Instagram that look like they're really successful? And they'll be like, oh yeah. And I'll be like, yeah, we basically help them do that.
So you literally adjust it for whoever you're speaking
to.
I think I do the same, you know, because it depends, right, who you're speaking to, because some people just don't get what you do. And so sometimes you just have to simplify it for the audience. I typically just say, I do social media, or I have an agency, or we do marketing for people, or I'm a consultant. Very broad, generally speaking, but that's super interesting. Now, I saw you in the press. I don't know when this was. This is a while ago. And it actually caught me off guard because I like saw it, but it was like very different to what I know you for. Because obviously we've known each other for 4+ years. The last time I did a podcast was May 2019. I looked it up before we got here today. So that was ages ago. And you were obviously very much focused on helping fitness professionals build their businesses. And then I seen someone in the press and it was like completely left field to like what I know you for. And I was dead curious, and I saw your socials had changed, and I also saw that they'd grown, and I was like, wow, what's happened with Hannah since I last checked in? So what was that press all about?
Okay, so backstory was I started creating TikTok content around femininity and building a business that is aligned with your lifestyle. So I was sharing 2 things. The first was how to grow a business and quit your job. But the second was to do with femininity and dating. Now, I made a TikTok about how my boyfriend at the time and I split our roles in the relationship and how we have more of a polarized relationship where it's not 50-50. A reporter picked up on it and ran an article completely slandering us and making up a quote that I said, which I never said. And she made up the quote something like, I make my boyfriend pay my rent, I'm an investment, and I should be spoiled. So overnight, that went viral. It got shared on Lad Bible, Puberty, Jerry Springer, all the big major publications. And every time I refreshed my Instagram, I get like message requests from people insulting me, making memes of us, calling me a gold digger, calling my ex a simp and stuff like that. So we were on holiday in Cancun at the time. And that was the backstory to what happened.
Okay, so there's a couple of things here to unpack. The first one is you went a little bit on a different path with your content by the sounds of it, because what you're talking about there is not how to help fit pros get clients, build their businesses. You started delving into like a different style of content. Where did that decision come from?
So when I started posting on TikTok, it was never really for business. It was more like I had learned so much as a business owner and as a woman in terms of dating that I naturally wanted to share what I learned with other women. So slowly it became more of my brand, where instead of just talking about how to grow an online fitness business, it was more like, these are my values on how to grow a successful business without having to step too much in your masculine and burnout. And so, like, while yes, we are still working with the majority of our clients, our fitness coaches, the, like, I guess, messaging and branding that I put out is more focused on women instead of just growing a business.
So it sounds like interests, like you had interest in those things, but also like knowledge in those things. So you started just sharing those things, but you did it over on TikTok instead of, let's say, Instagram to begin with. And then you get all this press. And I imagine it brings you a lot of attention, both good and bad. I'm curious, how did you feel like when you started seeing these press reports and also started getting DMs from people? Because I get people comment on my stuff. Do you know, when you're in the public or you're running ads, people like have stuff to say, right? And it's often not very nice stuff to say. And it doesn't matter how thick-skinned you are, you feel it, you know? Or you like question yourself, or you go, am I really, or do I really, or, you know what I mean? You get that element of questioning. What did you feel like getting all this press and people like attacking you essentially?
Right. And just to set the context a bit more, it was tens of thousands of hate comments.
Really?
Like I would refresh the article on Facebook, and it'd be like 1.3K comments on one article, and you'd read the comments and they'd be like, her eyebrows are uneven, or oh, she's just a gold digger, or like, oh, this is an Asian girl trying to get a green card, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's like really personal stuff.
Exactly. Now, obviously, like you said, I've gotten hate comments in the past from my Facebook ads, but this was another level, because I was getting death threats and people were making memes of us, like photoshopping our faces onto pictures and stuff like that. So on one hand, I'm like, obviously, this is really stressful because they have just painted a picture that is the complete opposite of who I felt like I was. But then on the other hand, it's more like, are any of these people actually living a life that is better than mine? Probably not. So while it definitely hurt for a few days, like after a week, everyone forgot about it. Or after a few weeks, everyone forgot about it. And at the end of the day, I feel like if people have the time and the energy to go out of their way to comment something negative, then they're probably not even the type of opinions that you should be bothered by in the first place.
What happened afterwards then? So you got all this like hate coming at you, all this publicity, the dust settles. Was there upside to it?
I wouldn't say there was a lot of upside, apart from it was very polarized. So on one hand, we got a lot of hate, but we also had a lot of people checking out our socials and being like, oh, I knew the article was just completely fabricated, because after checking you out, it's obvious that you're completely different than the way they try to paint you. So I wouldn't say that, you know, we got clients from it or anything, but it was more the message. Like, people chose to see the message in the right way, which is that as a woman, you can build a successful business and lean into your feminine in a relationship at the same time. And the positive that came from it was that women were able to be inspired by that.
Did you notice your following go up at all?
No, not really.
Really?
Well, it was hard to attribute.
Yeah, I suppose because you're doing other stuff anyway. You post another piece of content. Did you stop posting content after you did that? Because you were just like, oh, there's so much coming at me? Or did you just business as usual? Like, did you adjust? Really?
Business as usual.
Fair play to you, because I think it would be easy for you to just like shell up and just like retreat.
Yeah.
Because like when you're being attacked, you obviously have got a couple of options. You fight or you flight. And you didn't fight, but you continued, which is the same thing. You just got on with your day and just carried on posting by the sounds of it.
Yeah. You know, I think I've heard so many stories of people that get that level of bad press and they get depressed for months. I always feel like from my upbringing, I have a I'm pretty tough mentally, so it's quite hard to break me. Now, was it really stressful for like a week or so? Definitely. Because at one point I was talking to lawyers. And I was like, hey.
What, to sue the papers?
I was like, hey,
the slander.
this is slander. They're completely painting us in a really bad light, and it's not true because they made up the quote. So like, this is obviously slander. Now, I contacted a few law firms. Almost all of them said, sorry, we can't help you because of a conflict of interest, implying that they were already retained by the press. And the one firm that did speak to me basically said, look, they have lawyers on tap for this kind of thing. It's just down to, do you want to invest the time and resources to fight this when most people are going to forget about it in a month?
It sounds like it's a losing battle because they've probably got deep pockets and they probably face this stuff all the time. So they've probably got specialist lawyers who know how to just crush any complaint or claim very easily. And so if you're not a big corporation, you're not going to be able to fund that. Because I've got someone going through legal battle at the moment and it's costing anywhere from 100K up to maybe 200-300K. It's a lot of money with no guarantee you're going to win either.
Yeah.
Because you're going to drop that in legal fees. You may not even win.
Yeah, that's the thing is with tabloids, a lot of people always say, why don't you sue? Why don't you just sue them? And it's not that simple because first, do I want to spend £100,000 on legal fees to sue a tabloid that can probably outspend me? Probably not. And second, it's a lot of mental energy. It can take 12 months.
Yeah.
Now, do I want to dedicate 12 months to clearing my name to a bunch of randoms on the internet, or take that 100K and 12 months building another business, for example?
Yeah. Plus the energy that's involved, right? Because it's an energy sap.
Exactly.
Because I see one of my friends going through it at the moment and it's like, it's a constant topic of conversation because it's a constant consideration because there's a win or lose outcome and there's a lot of money involved in the equation. So yeah, super interesting. Now, in terms of like the socials then, that one went viral, the one that caught the attention of the press. Okay. And so did you keep sharing content like that because it kept going viral?
Yeah. So I was always sharing content around women's dating that would consistently go viral.
And what are you saying specifically that was making it go viral? Because loads of people create content like that, but it doesn't go viral.
Right. So I think there are a few elements on what made it go viral. The first was the hook. Like in the first 1 to 2 seconds, I always try to capture the attention of my market. And the second was the message. Now, in women's dating, especially if you don't promote 50-50 or like women's empowerment, which I do, but like equality in relationships, a lot of people jump to conclusions because they think, oh, it's misogyny, or, oh, well, I'm a strong, independent woman. I can pay for myself. I don't need a man to do that. So a lot of what I was sharing was things that I learned through reading a lot of dating books, doing a lot of research, is that men and women are equal in value, but they should be complementary in a relationship where like they bring different things to the table. So when I talk about things like that, I trigger a lot of people and it just goes viral.
It creates a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
Because it's going to create divide. And when it's going to create divide, that means comments or like engagement, good and bad, that happens, that pushes it further. But you're a businesswoman, so you understand attention is good. Right?
Yeah.
Getting attention is good. So you lean into it, you create more of that content. And what happens to your social on this journey? Is it already at a good level at that point? Or is this like this is the come up? Because your TikTok is how much now?
It's at around 395.
395,000,
yeah.
When you posted that clip that got you the press, do you remember what it was at?
I don't remember. I think it might have been around 200, but
Okay.
I don't think that clip made my profile grow overnight. It was more like I grew from 0 to 395,000 in around 12 months. So on average, that is around 20 to 30K a month. So it wasn't like that clip in itself was the make or break for my whole TikTok. It was more like that clip was one of the things that went viral. And then after that, I just continued to do what I was already doing.
Was it the relationship content that was getting you off the mark?
It was both relationship and business.
Okay. Oh, so you were getting viral business stuff.
Yeah.
But was it broad business though? Like
Yeah.
It wasn't niche business.
It wasn't niche business like how to get more fitness leads.
Yeah.
It was always broad things like how I manifested $1 million before I turned 26 and things like that.
Okay, so like money stuff.
Exactly.
Money stuff, but could relate to business people, but also could relate to the average human being who is interested in money, which is every human being.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So you went from 0 to almost 400 very quickly. 12 months is a very short space of time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that can be replicated again?
100%.
If you just started a brand new account, you think you could do that again?
Yeah, because I think so many people focus on trends and the algorithm, but when you focus on human behavior, that is constant throughout time. So the things that I focus on are always both the visual hook and the audio hook. So visual hook, I mean, is like the text that you have on top of the screen.
Yeah, I read this actually on Hook Point. Have you read the book Hook Point?
I haven't.
So he went from 0 to 1 million in 30 days, but he talks about that visual hook and auditory hooks. But like, is the text over or the image over? But yeah, continue.
Yeah. So like, just to dive more into the visual hook, it's all about when people first scroll on your video, is there a visually interesting element outside of the text on screen? So for example, I've tested this and I find that I always get more engagement when you can see a clear shot of my apartment in the background, or when I have like a rose on a microphone.
Yeah, I've seen that in your Instagram account as well, in your profile picture. That's
Yeah.
intentional.
Yeah,
Is that so that people recognize you from TikTok to the transfer over to Instagram?
kind of. It was more like I just took that picture for fun.
It's a nice photo, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's different because no one holds a rose in their profile picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're noticing these nuances in the things you're doing in the videos, the backdrop. And I know a lot of this stuff because I bought your course before this podcast, which is like a steal at 200 quid, viral cheat codes, right?
Yeah.
I consumed it in like a day. I just
Love it.
gobbled it up because I just
love
like
that.
consume things really quickly.
Yeah.
And I started using some of your stuff actually and got more views, got more engagement and stuff like that. But I'm on that vibe at the moment with the short form virality, trying to get more views, trying to get more attention. But so you notice like little things that you're doing in the videos are working. So you've built a formula essentially that you can just replicate.
Yeah, exactly. So with hooks, it's more like you also have to keep in mind a lot of people are scrolling with their sound off, right? Like
Is that on all platforms, should you say, or particularly TikTok?
on all platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not YouTube where people are like
Yeah.
watching a video, but it's like sometimes people are on the way to work and they don't have their headphones in, or they're just in the office with their sound off. So it's like in the first second, does your visual hook incentivize them enough to even turn the sound on?
I think you said something actually in your course, the viral cheat codes, about someone getting ready for work. Yeah. And if someone's getting ready for work and they catch that first couple of seconds of their video, of your video, are they going to be late for work, or are they going to like make sure they watch the rest of it because of that first few seconds? I think you mentioned about getting a lift or something like that. What was it? You probably know
Okay.
better than me because you said it.
Okay, so the hook test. If someone's already late to work and they're about to walk out their door, but your video pops up on their screen,
That's it.
is the video interesting enough for them to continue being even later because they want to watch the video? Or are they going to put their phone away and be like, whatever, I'm already late for work?
Yeah. So it has to be like really compelling.
Yeah. And if we dive a bit more into hooks, it's more like the most successful ones always have a few elements. Either A, they evoke a lot of curiosity for you to watch the rest of the video. B, it's got a very strong benefit to watching the rest of the video. Like they find something out that benefits them. And C, it's very relevant to them, like to their day-to-day life. So if I posted something like how to get, or like how to outbound message people, the relevance isn't really there for the majority of people. So
Plus
they're
it's
not gonna watch it.
complicated.
Exactly.
Outbound. Some people don't know what outbound is.
Yeah,
It's hard to go viral when you're using like terminology that a 5-year-old wouldn't get.
exactly. And then the last thing is it shocking? So is the hook in itself shocking in the sense that it's controversial, or shocking in the sense that people read the claim and they might not believe it?
So when it comes to starting from scratch, right? Because I've got a TikTok account. I think it's got very small audience, 2,500. I had a few viral clips like 500K, 600K. This was like during lockdown because that's when it popped, didn't it? When everything closed. And I got some really good viral ones, but I realized they were nothing to do with what I was doing. So I kind of like, this doesn't have any relevance to my business. And so I
Yeah.
just kind of like threw it to the side and never did anything with it. And it was growing really well. And then I came back to it recently, and I was posting stuff again, but I'm just noticing it wasn't really getting any traction. And I was really trying some of the stuff that obviously you talk about. Still no traction. So in my mind, am I limited in my thinking to think that I've done something to the account, or is it just the content that's not good enough to get it to go viral on the platform? What I'm trying to ask you is, do I start from scratch and just like fresh account, fresh content, or do I try and revive the one that I do have? What route would you go if you had the choice?
There's so many questions, like how consistently were you posting and how long of a break were you on?
I was posting daily only for about 30 to 60 days. Maybe 60 days, let's say 60 days. Then I probably stopped for a year or a year and a half.
Okay. If you stop for like a year and a half, I'd probably start a new account.
Oh, you would?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
Because after a year and a half, like I hate talking about things that are about the algorithm too much.
Yeah.
But at that point, I don't see any benefit to continuing that account, especially if the content that you were posting in the past is quite different than the content that you plan on posting today.
Okay, so you'd start from scratch.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it's also like, how many followers have you built up at the time?
Well, like I said, there's a couple of thousand, but a lot of them are just random TikTok people, not my audience, or the people that I want in my audience.
Right. If it's less than 30 days that you have been inactive, then I would say like continue with that account. But if you've abandoned it for like a year and a half, then at that point, I would just start a new one.
Okay. Interestingly, I was listening to another podcast the other day, and I think it's, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but some guy that I watch, and he had someone on, he was interviewing them, and they were talking about like the different platforms and what's better for like sales. Because obviously TikTok's limited, right? It's not the same DM feature that you've got on Instagram. Do you find that to be true too, that TikTok is not the best for selling, but it's the best for audience building, and Instagram is better for like selling your products? What's your thoughts? What's your experience?
I love this. Okay, so I say TikTok should be mainly used as a traffic driver to your Instagram, and Instagram should be used to warm up your cold audience. So a lot of people will, or like my strategy that I use and what I teach clients is you cross post the same video on TikTok and Instagram, because sometimes one video might go viral on TikTok, another one might go viral on Instagram, stuff like that. But then when people start following you on TikTok and they start seeing your profile, they'll naturally check you out on Instagram and follow you there. And then once you have them on Instagram, that's when you can nurture them with stories. And that's when they start to really get to know you. But that said, we also have a few clients that are purely using TikTok to funnel people in TikTok DMs and then book them on a sales call that way, or sell them through the DMs that way.
Okay, so people are doing it, but you would say that for most people, like trying to get them to an Instagram account to then nurture and convert in the DMs on Instagram is an easier way of doing things, with TikTok being the main traffic source.
Yeah, like I would do both. I would still, especially if someone's got a savage outbound setting team, I would still do that on TikTok and Instagram. But it's more like with TikTok, you are now funneling people into Instagram where they can watch your stories and really get to know you.
Yeah, because the thing I noticed with TikTok is people just hang out on the explore page. So like even if you're following someone, you may not ever see their content.
Exactly.
Versus on Instagram, you're typically going to see the people that you follow on the feed or in the story. So it's like TikTok is great for grabbing them. And then if you can funnel them over here to another channel where they can just see more ongoing content, they get nurtured. And then if there's a messaging feature, you can then initiate that conversation and convert. But like you said, you can also do that on TikTok, but it's harder to nurture on TikTok.
Exactly. So TikTok is mainly for capturing new eyeballs, like reaching a new cold audience. And then from TikTok, it's your choice, like where do I want to funnel people? So if someone's got a really good working VSL or webinar, then that might be in their link in bio. And then TikTok is just the traffic driver to their webinar or an email list. Whereas with Instagram, like you said, you've got Instagram stories. You can just share more things about your life. So then when people first find you, that's when they can slowly get to know you through your Instagram stories.
Did you see a direct correlation between your TikTok growth curve and your Instagram growth curve?
So yes and no, because when I was growing on TikTok, and this was like my fault, I should have done this, I didn't consistently repost everything to Instagram. But once I started doing that, my Instagram grew from like 15K to 60K in like months.
So it grew off you sharing the same content, not attention coming over via a link on TikTok to your Instagram.
Yeah, like it's a bit hard to attribute because I would say that whenever I got a viral TikTok, I would see my Instagram followers go up. But I think the most consistent way for most people would just be every time you post on TikTok, post the same reel on Instagram. And then I've had videos that perform bad on TikTok and do well on Instagram, vice versa.
Do you post on shorts as well on YouTube?
I don't.
Interesting. I get most of my views there.
See, I tried doing it, but I just got really bad views.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was listening to this girl who makes everything go viral. She doesn't have anything that doesn't go viral because she has like 1,000 ideas and then she funnels them down to 10 and she like scrutinizes those ideas to make sure they're going to be like top-notch videos. And everything she does like 5 to 10 million. She's potentially like an upcoming Mr. Beast.
Crazy.
She's like really young as well. And she does a lot of stuff around money, like how to make a $1 McDonald's burger at home. You know what I mean? Stuff like that the mass market would be interested in.
Yeah.
How do I make like a cheap McDonald's burger? That type of content. Anyway, she was talking about posting on TikTok. And at one point, like everything she just posted was just like crushing it. Then at one point, it stopped. And at the same time, she was posting on shorts on YouTube. So she was posting TikTok and shorts. And it was like crushing it over here, but nothing over here. And then suddenly it just switched. And then it stopped here. But the same video was just crushing it over here. So it's kind of like weird how things can play out and how things can work or how things can switch, or there is an invisible hand. I know we don't like to think it, but there is an invisible hand sometimes. And also I wonder if platforms do somehow speak to each other because, oh, do you know something about this?
I wouldn't say I know anything about that, but
do you feel that's the case though?
I feel like there can be some sort of like internal, like between platform collaboration they do where it's like, okay, this month we'll let you have it, but the next month we'll have it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, because I feel like every platform wants unique content.
Yeah.
I've had a good friend of mine. He's like a really good Facebook marketer, probably the best one I know in the world that I personally know. And he's monetized on Facebook, so he earns for like Facebook Reels, like because you get so many views, you get paid. Now, Facebook found that he was sharing unoriginal content to Facebook, so stuff that he was creating for YouTube on Facebook, and they flagged his account and demonetized him. So like it's clearly evident that they don't like you sharing the same things in multiple places, which is why I have a feeling that they have maybe like AI or a bot or something scraping other platforms, doing spot checks to see if like people are cross sharing. And if you are, they punish you and they take your views.
So
that's what I'm getting at.
Oh, right. Okay. I misunderstood. I thought you meant something like, do the platforms speak to each other where like they try to make sure that maybe some months or some times of the year, the TikTok algorithm works better, whereas like other times they don't.
Like a seasonal switch.
Exactly. But so I have heard that Instagram and TikTok consistently do not like each other because they're seen as competitors. And that's why when you download a TikTok video, it's got a watermark and you upload it on Instagram, there's a far lower chance that it's going to perform because like you said, the AI recognizes the fact that it came from TikTok. So what you can do is you can download the video without the watermark and then remove the metadata and then re-upload it on another platform.
Plus, like, people know you've copied and pasted it, so human beings won't like it as more when you do reshare it because they'll be like, oh, they're just spamming it everywhere.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I think it performs bad. But you talked about this, about downloading it like Insta Tick, I think it's called, and then running it through CapCut, right? Because CapCut will take off
Yeah.
the metadata, and then there'll be no trace of it. It'll seem like an original video.
Yeah. So you can download the TikTok video through Snaptic, which removes the
Oh,
watermark.
Snaptic.
Run it through Metafo or another video editor, something like that. So it removes the metadata. So like Instagram doesn't read it.
But you make your content in
TikTok.
the TikTok. I don't. You see,
Yeah.
I don't make any content in the app.
Yeah. So I guess it doesn't really
It's
matter.
for people that are making it on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus if you're making it just on your phone, you give it to your editor and then you upload it. It doesn't matter so much.
It doesn't really matter.
It depends how you're creating it.
But like one thing that I always go back to, especially with some of our clients, is people in general tend to put too much, like when a video underperforms, they tend to put too much emphasis on things that are outside of themselves. Like, oh, maybe it's the algorithm, or maybe
the time.
Instagram doesn't like me. Yeah. When like at the end of the day, it's just maybe your hooks just aren't good enough. Maybe
Shit
they
hook,
just don't
shit
know your
delivery,
market
shit
enough.
background, too long,
Yeah.
unnecessary length.
Yeah.
Because as well with the timing thing, the quality of the video, a lot of those things don't actually affect it if good hook.
Exactly.
And it's good content. Because like you can post stuff at any time and it still works, provided it's really good content.
Yeah.
Because I was speaking to Ryan McGinn about this. You know Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was talking about like they used to edit for big people. I don't know if I'm meant to share who their names are because he's under an NDA. That doesn't affect me, does it?
I think Ryan's great. I think he's done for Grant Cardone.
Grant Cardone, that's public knowledge. Grant Cardone,
Yeah.
some other people I'm not going to mention, but big hitters. But they were saying that in the early days, they were just like editing, and then they'd just load a ton of them in, no specific times, and just launch.
Yeah.
Like loads of them, and they would go viral. So it was like clearly evident that it was based on the quality of the hook and the video, not the timing of it, which a lot of people think is significant, like these little things, when they're not thinking about the big things, which is the first 3 seconds, the visual hook, what you're actually saying, etc. But there is a lot to it, because I was watching this girl that goes viral and she's like every second counts, like because they're looking at what's it called, like the consumption percentage, how much someone consumes of the piece of content, and for it to go viral, it needs to be in the 70 to 80% range. People watching it that far through, and she was like, every second counts. So if anything is unnecessary, a word, cut it.
Yeah.
Or if there's like something right at the end that shouldn't be there, it doesn't need to be there, cut it off. Because that could actually be 10% of the video if it's only a 15-second clip, which is a significant amount when you're trying to get really high percentages of watch time. Again, it can be quite complicated, but it's a whole space in and of itself, understanding short form content.
Yeah. And that's why once you understand like the psychology behind it, you'll naturally focus less on the tactics, like should I post at 3 p.m. or what hashtag should I use? Because on TikTok and Reels, people are scrolling very, very quickly. So even within your video, you have to give them that dopamine hit as if they are keep continuing to scroll. One way to do that is, instead of having one long clip, have multiple shorter ones, because every time there's a jump cut, it gives them, it artificially creates that feeling of like, oh, they just scrolled onto something new. And that's why I always say, like, cut out any unnecessary pauses or ums and always try to explain things in the most concise way.
You were working with Fit Pros, and you still are, right? What percentage are Fit Pros?
Around like 70%.
Are they a specific type of Fit Pro?
No. What do you mean by that?
So like for me, I work with people that typically just getting started. You know, they've got 0 clients, maybe 3 clients, 4 clients. But I do work with other people as well who've maybe been in a mentorship program, got a few clients, they're doing it full time, but they want to grow to 10, 15, 20K a month. So it's like newbie, and then people that are doing like decent numbers. But I'll work with these in a different way than I'll work with the newbies.
Yeah.
Are you doing these and these?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're still doing these
Yeah.
knees?
I think we're very similar
Oh,
where like most of our clients will be, like you said, in that early either side hustle phase of,
yeah.
oh, I have a few clients at £50, or, oh, I'm just starting from scratch. I don't even have my first client. But then sometimes we'll also get people come in and they'll be like, I was in a mentorship program and either I didn't get results or I'm at 5K now, but I want to scale to like 20K a month. So it's really like all ends of the spectrum.
So you've got a program for the newer ones, but then what about the higher ones? They get to work like directly with you one-to-one. Is that something you do?
Yeah, so I do some one-on-one consulting, and at that point, the one-on-one isn't just for Fit Pros. It's like for any business who maybe they're even at 6 to 7 figures, but they want to get on TikTok. So the one-on-one is actually a bit of any niche, so long as their primary goal is to grow on TikTok. So on one hand, I've got those business owners. And
So
then,
any market, any niche, and you're simply helping them not with product development, fulfillment, sales. It's grow on TikTok.
yeah,
And they're working with you one-on-one to understand how to do that. And you help them with the content, the strategy, the posting schedule, that type of stuff.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I have this one client who has already sold like millions in supplements, but he wants to scale by growing his brand organically on TikTok. So like at that point, I work with them one-on-one to do that. But then if it's a lot of fitness coaches that are coming in and they don't have a business yet, or they'll maybe have 3 clients at £50, then that's when they'll go through our flagship mentorship program.
Got it. Is that the one that you've had for years?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you have to update it at all, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself having to do like product development, innovation?
Yes, so I've definitely adapted that. For example, a few years ago, I wasn't even teaching TikTok. Now, a part of our strategy is it's not going into Facebook groups and adding people and like cold DMing people. It's more like grow on TikTok and get inbound leads on TikTok.
Is that your main strategy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
it's TikTok and Instagram. Before
Okay.
it was Instagram and Facebook. Now it's TikTok and Instagram.
Do you not do Facebook then?
No, not really.
What made you decide to move away from it?
I just feel like a lot of one thing I'm really big on is keeping up with the market trends so that like clients aren't using outdated strategies. And, I might be wrong here, but I feel like the strategy of going into Facebook groups, adding people as a friend, outbound messaging, called people on Facebook, like, yeah, you can say that still works, but it's also like there's a fine line between what works and what clients enjoy. And so from speaking to clients, a large part of them have said, I would rather grow a brand on TikTok and then go viral and get inbound DMs than I would want to be like going into Facebook groups and adding people and cold messaging people.
What takes longer though? Because going viral and growing on TikTok is not easy either, is it? Unless you're working with Hannah Chan, but it's still not easy to do it. It's not like you can post 2 videos and then boom, you're famous. You've got to like grind that out for a bit, surely.
Yeah, so it depends. Like, we have clients that go viral maybe in like the first month, or they grow to 20K in the first month or so. But
And that's still happening like at this moment.
yeah.
Yeah, so you can still get people, brand new account,
Yeah.
and then just go viral.
Yeah, like we had a girl, brand new account, and she's pulling in like 10K a month.
Oh,
and
that's
it's mostly from
that's
people
great.
that find her from TikTok and then end up following her on Instagram.
Oh, so she links them. So it's like, go
Exactly.
follow me on here, or is she like trying to sell anything in her TikTok bio?
It's both.
Okay, so there's like a kind of a link tree or a links where there's
Yeah.
multiple things, including Instagram link.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what we talked about, where if you want to grow your audience on Instagram, just grow on TikTok, because the two are so correlated. Like when people find you on TikTok, they'll follow you on Instagram, especially if you're posting good stuff. So, at the same time, I'll have people come to me and they're like, hey, I want to make 10K a month, but I don't want to do sales calls. I don't want to do outbound DMs. I don't want to show my face. I don't
Yeah.
want to post. Can you help me? And I'm like, honestly, I'm just going to say what you need to hear is that if you want to grow a business to a degree, you're going to have to pick your poison. So it's like, what would you rather do in a way? Are you okay with sending cold DMs on Facebook and slowly building your audience by adding people? or like posting content and showing your face and going viral.
In terms of like the TikTok strategy then, and this is something I was toying with and have been playing with myself, because Ryan, Megan, he talks about 80% just mass market content, no relevance to what you actually do, to top a funnel, get maximum amount of interest, followers, engagement, and then you demonstrate expertise through 20% of niche content or mastery content. Would you say growing on TikTok would involve something similar in terms of a wide funnel at the top with the content, and then a small amount of niche content to demonstrate what you do? Is that true?
100%.
Is that the only way to do it?
So
Effectively.
So the more niche your content is, the less you're going to go viral and the less you're going to grow. I tested this myself because I had a failed TikTok account at one point. I spent like at least $10,000 on TikTok coaches, and they just said, post content in your niche, post content in your niche. So I was posting like, here's how to get fitness clients. And I was doing everything they said, hashtags, posting 3 times a day. After 6 months, I had less than 2,000 followers. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to start from scratch and use what I think I should do. And that's when I grew from 0 to almost 400K.
With a wide funnel, essentially.
Yeah.
Hitting those topics of interest.
Yes.
So to play devil's advocate, when someone finds you, how do they understand what you do in a sea of content that has no relevance to what you offer? That's not relevant to what you offer.
So 2 things. The first is your bio. Like, your bio can be specific, but the videos can be broad. And the second is like, they go from your TikTok to Instagram, so they kind of get a sense of what you do. But you can also just pin videos that show exactly what you do. So if I had, like my last client that signed on, she found me off a video that said where it was like how much I spend in a month. But then there's certain things that I will put in, like sprinkle in even in my broad videos, that lets people know this is along the lines of what I do. So if I do like a day in the life, I'll be like, okay, this day in the life of a coach, of an online coach.
Yeah, so it's subtle, but it's not focused at that niche.
Exactly.
But there's sprinklings in there of what you do.
Yep.
In terms of the TikTok account growth, then what have you seen in terms of if someone comes in, right, and they've got 0 TikTok followers and they start posting daily, what could someone achieve in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days on TikTok? Like, what's not the best case scenario? What's just like, typical? If someone did the right thing on TikTok.
It's so hard to say because the range is so big. Like, if you
give us a range then, like bottom, but what it could, aspirational, what it could be.
Okay. Let's say like 30 days. If they're doing,
let's say it was me.
Okay.
Because I'm skilled at creating content.
Yeah.
And I would probably understand exactly what to do. Like, if I knew the plan and I executed it with intention, what do you think I could do from 0 in 30, 60 or 90 days? Like, what would be the possibility? Worst, mid, best case?
Okay, let's take...
Not going to hold you to this, Hannah, but
okay.
I'm just playing games here.
Okay, let's say that someone was actually executing the concepts well. Like, their hooks were good, solid hooks.
They
solid
will be
video
good.
Production.
They will be good.
In 30 days, I would say around 5 to 10K.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty fast.
$500.
That's in 30 days?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, we've had clients go from 0 to 100K in 30 days.
What would you say, though, follow-up question, what would you say from that following, what percentage would be ideal client, do you reckon?
Ooh.
10%?
Yeah, probably around that.
So if you go 5-10, it's about 500 to 1,000 ideal clients.
Yeah.
Which is significant in the grand scheme of things in a 30-day window.
Yep.
Because that's what some people don't consider, is it's a following, but it's not all the right following. But in that following, you've captured the people that you actually want to work with. And that's the most important thing, because those are the only people who are going to buy.
Yeah. And the other huge benefit of TikTok and Reels is that, let's say you're running paid ads, naturally, people check out your organic presence, right? That's what a lot of people who are so focused on paid advertising, they forget is they're like, oh, the funnel, the metrics. People are going to check out your organic presence to get a vibe off you and see, do I like this person? Do I agree with their lifestyle and their values? And do I want to work with them? So even if you don't have a ton of followers, or even if your followers aren't all your ideal clients, just you having that organic presence is a ton of social proof, and it helps build that trust.
So we did 30 days. Is it going to be the same in terms of the growth curve for 60 and 90 days? So if it was 5 to 10, it's going to be like 10 to 15 and then 15 to, I don't know, 25 by the end of 90 days.
So by the end of 90, I mean, I've had like a realistic high being like 50K,
Oh, wow.
50K followers.
In 3 months.
But it's always so difficult to give exact numbers because the range is so big.
Of course. It's hard to
Especially-
gauge these things.
Yeah, especially when sometimes like a few viral videos can be the difference between 0 and 300K. But also you can go viral and like not grow followers that much.
How many accounts have you got on TikTok?
I just have one. Well, I have my one that failed, like the
Okay.
specific one.
And you got rid of that?
Yeah, like it's on like I don't use it.
It's
I didn't
there.
delete it. It's
yeah.
there.
And then you start a new one
Yes.
and then build from scratch.
Exactly.
What about creating multiple accounts that funnel back to you? Have you thought about doing that?
I haven't thought about doing that, but ironically, I've had people make other accounts and then repost my stuff.
So it gets you do they credit you?
Yeah.
Okay, so they get you get traffic off the back of that essentially.
It's hard to say. I
Potentially.
guess. Yeah, like sometimes I'll get
You get
I'll see-
awareness.
Yeah, I
Because
definitely get
people will
awareness.
see it in your face. If they saw your face, then it might lead them to being more familiar. Rule of 7, right?
Yeah.
More times they see you, the more likely they are to buy.
Yeah, like I'm definitely not upset about that. Sometimes I'll have these random Instagram like business or millionaire mindset accounts repost my reels and tag me. That I'm fine with, not a problem. But you also get a lot of fake accounts on TikTok that will repost your stuff and then try to sell your followers crypto and Bitcoin and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I can imagine that happens in the thousands for bigger people. Like, you know, like there's a lot of that happening in the actual crypto space. So the crypto influencers, they've got so many people pretending to be them, either in the comments or
Exactly.
or creating accounts. But the reason I asked you about creating multiple accounts is obviously we saw what Andrew Tate did, and he basically got affiliates, right? So he had a product, the Hustlers University, I think it was called, and inside that they were taught to take his podcast clips, slice and dice, go to TikTok, post them there, and then it funnels them back to his product eventually and just keeps growing his brand and his business. The things that he made the mistake of, though, is he didn't have control of what clips they sliced and diced, and so they could create very polarizing things that would essentially lead him to getting into trouble, right? Whereas Iman Gadzi, have you seen what Iman Gadzi has done? Have you heard of him?
I don't know what I know who he is, but I
Yeah,
don't know
so
what
he's
doing.
done the same thing, but he's been in control. So he's not done it the affiliate route. He's just created the accounts himself. So I think it's about 20 accounts, and he's got a team of people slicing and dicing for him and mass posting. And his YouTube went from like 300K to like 1 point something million in like 6 months. And YouTube subs are hard to get because I'm growing my YouTube channel. That's a longer process, but that's what he did. Just created these multiple accounts, just funneling all back to him and his products and services. So like, I imagine a lot more people are going to start using that strategy, which is like, it's almost like MLMing your own business.
There's agencies that do that now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where they're like, we'll create 20 like child accounts and then just churn out your stuff.
There you go. That's it. It's becoming a thing.
Yeah.
But Andrew was the one that led the way for that.
Exactly.
Because everyone saw how successfully it worked. but he used affiliates, and now people are just taking it in-house so they can control what is going out. But I just thought it's fascinating. So we got a few minutes here before we wrap up. What does your like typical day and week look like at the moment?
So my typical day is centered around how much fun can I have outside of business? Not to say that I'm lazy or anything, but I hired a mindset coach, NLP coach 2 years back. And there's something he said that changed my life. And it was most people in the industry demonize being lazy. But what if being lazy is a good thing? Because if you can get the same amount of stuff done in the least amount of time, then why wouldn't you want that? And since then, I've operated my business on what is the maximum ROI I can get with the minimum amount of work.
We could probably clip that as a good reel, what you just said then.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way you said it was very interesting in terms of I hired an NLP coach to become more lazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a nice hook for everyone listening, because people are like, what do you mean to become more lazy? Okay, but I get what you're saying, right? You're trying to get more enjoyment out of your day to day. It's actually very interesting you say that. I had this moment. I took some psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, just the more sophisticated way of saying it. And when I took that psilocybin, this was like a couple of years ago, I took quite a big dose. And I had like this, I don't know what you call it, epiphany moment, idea, revelation, that really when you break it down is the past is gone. The future, you don't know if it's coming, right? And you don't know like what is coming and what is gone is gone. And so really the only focus should be is to how to enjoy like the present moment as much as you possibly can. Because the other things you can't control, can't necessarily control all the outcomes of the future. The past is gone. And so if you can just make sure day to day, you're happy, you're enjoying yourself, you're having fun, you're doing things you enjoy, then you live a really nice life, because you wake up every day enjoying what you do versus waiting for something in the future or reflecting on the past and going, oh, that was so good, I wish I had more of that. And that's what I've intentionally tried to do, is like, how do I structure my day where I wake up and I do what I want to do? How do I like work on projects I want to work on? If I'm like bored shooting podcasts at home, let's book a studio and do it in person. How do I engineer a day that I really enjoy? Because at the end of the day, I don't know how many days I've got. Neither do you. Anything can happen, right? And so a lot of people are focused on this big thing and this legacy and building this big business, which like I am too, and you're doing cool things too. But at the end of the day, like it's the day that matters.
Yeah. Like the period of time when I was making the most money was also the same time I was the most depressed. Because you keep chasing the next goal that you never even stop and be satisfied with the progress that you've made so far. And you're always hustling, where it's like, okay, you make all this money, but are you even enjoying life? Because that's the very reason you got to business in the first place.
So back to your day. We didn't really get into it.
Okay.
You talked about like trying to have fun.
Yeah. Okay. So my day, I work maybe 2-3 hours a day. And then the rest of it is meeting my friends, going to the gym, taking walks. To be honest, outside of traveling, I live a pretty repetitive life.
Simple life.
Simple life. It's like I wake up, I take my morning slow, like feed my cats, go to the gym, do a few hours of work, take a walk, and either meet up with my friend or just like do something else by myself and then have dinner.
And you find for you that's like the perfect balance and day.
Yeah. Definitely.
Do you ever catch yourself like, actually, no, I want to push now and I want to like expand? Do you go through those moments though?
Yeah,
because that doesn't sound like an expanding schedule. That sounds like I'm really happy with where I'm at. I'm going to maintain schedule.
Exactly. So I go through seasons, almost like quarters in a year, where, you know, the past 8 weeks I was traveling. So I basically took 8 weeks completely off.
Really?
And the business
no work.
Still ran. Maybe like 30 minutes of work here and there, like an email here and there, you know. So my team member is, I have one person.
That's it on your team?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep. One person. And
what does that person do?
Fulfillment.
Oh, okay. Coaching?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the program?
Yeah.
Okay, and you have a VA?
Yeah, a VA who I hire on like an per project basis.
Okay.
So it's going back to what I said in the beginning, I feel like a lot of, especially women in business, have been conditioned to think that they have to scale to the moon or else they're not respected. And so they put so much pressure on themselves to build this really big business. It's like, oh, 7 figures, but you're hustling and your profit's basically low. That was me until I scaled things down. And my profit is basically the same, but I work way less. But more importantly, I don't feel like I have to validate my self-worth based on my numbers. So like you said, I'm in a phase where like I've been happy cruising, but just getting into the season where I'm about to launch a paid ads funnel, which I haven't done in over 2 years.
Okay, so you're going to be looking to take on more clients.
Mm-hmm.
Is that for the Fit Pro business?
Yeah.
Okay. And so does that mean that you'll have to put new team members in place or do more work?
I might have to do more work in the short term.
Fulfillment or sales?
So here's the thing. The new funnel that I'm building out does not require sales calls.
Okay.
Because
VSL style.
It's going to be like basically like selling through Messenger and webinars and things like that.
Yep.
Because I'm really big on building a business around your lifestyle.
Yeah, and you don't want to go on calls.
I don't want to do calls. So the next phase is like I'm just getting to that hustle phase again a bit where I'm building out this new funnel and all the systems that come with it. And then my client success coach, he's still got a decent amount of capacity.
Okay, so you can add more clients to the business without hiring more.
Exactly. Because a lot of businesses tend to overhire. They hire too quickly and they fire too slowly.
Yeah, so it's a burden on the business in terms of revenue.
Exactly.
Because it's eating at the margin.
Yeah. It's like, so if someone makes 50K a month, they should not have like 7 team members.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty significant for that size of business.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So that brings us up probably to the end. They're probably going to want to get in here in a second. Mm-hmm. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is @RealHannahChan.
The real Hannah Chan.
Real, not the fake one.
Not the fake account. So we'll chuck those in the show notes. Mm-hmm. Pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you for having me.